At a party, Ethan's white moonlight forced me to drink in front of everyone. She's so much fun after a few drinks. It'll be an eye-opener for all of you. Some people around looked concerned. Ethan, are you sure about this? Ethan remained expressionless, even pointing to my head. It doesn't matter. She's sick in the head. She'll sleep it off and forget everything. I stood beside him, quiet as if nothing had happened. After all, no matter how I was treated, tomorrow I would only remember him loving me. It was Ethan's birthday and he threw a party. Some of the guests I knew, others I didn't. After a satisfying meal and drinks, they started clamoring to play Truth or Dare. Sitting across from Ethan was his white moonlight Ivy Lou. I heard they had been an item, but it ended when Ivy went abroad. I knew Ethan still carried a torch for her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have offered her a job as soon as she returned. Ivy was tipsy, her pretty face flushed. She glanced at me provocatively and then asked Ethan, "Ethan, tell me, who do you love the most?" But Ethan grabbed my hand, his voice cold. "Who else but Alice, Lou?" Ivy stared blankly at our joined hands, her expression vacant. After a moment, she came to and gave a peculiar smile. All right. What she didn't know was that Ethan's grip was so tight it hurt. After all, what Ethan wanted was for Ivy to yield before him, begging him to get back together. The next round, Ethan still had to pick a truth or dare. Someone asked, "Ethan, when are you planning to have the wedding?" Some of our friends glanced back and forth between me and Ethan, their eyes full of speculation. In their eyes, I had been with Ethan for so long I deserved a title, especially since Ethan had just rejected Ivy. But Ethan shook his head, his voice cold. "Not yet." See, this was his true feeling. Ivy cast a complex glance at me. When it was my turn, she suddenly spoke up. "Ethan, let Alice choose a dare." I secretly looked at Ethan, shaking my head urgently. But he ignored me. As always, he wouldn't refuse a request from Ivy, even knowing that choosing a dare would force me to drink a whole bottle of alcohol. Ivy looked at me with a fake smile. "She's so much fun after a few drinks, it'll be an eye-opener for you all." When Ivy was still in the country, she had once bet with me, tricking me into drinking a lot. After I got drunk, she stripped me and recorded a video to send to Ethan. Thinking about it, I trembled in fear. I broke free from Ethan's embrace and without grabbing my bag, tried to leave. "I won't drink it." Ivy quickly called someone to catch me. "You have to drink it." Tears welled up in my eyes, and I looked pitifully at Ethan. "Ethan, I can't drink, you know that." Someone nearby looked uncomfortable. "Ethan, are you sure about this?" Ethan remained expressionless, even pointing to my head. "It doesn't matter, she's sick in the head. She'll sleep it off and forget everything. Alice, be good and drink, and I'll marry you." I froze, forgetting to struggle. Ivy pinched my cheeks and forced the drink down my throat. After everyone left, Ethan came closer, seemingly wanting to wipe my face. I rejected his gesture, biting his hand instead. Ivy seemed startled and tried to pull me away. Ethan said calmly, "No need to bother. She'll feel better after biting me." Actually, I knew this morning that I was sick. I'd wanted to celebrate his birthday at home, so I got up early to prepare. But when I picked up the kitchen knife, Ethan immediately grabbed my hand. He looked at me with a stern face, his tone unforgiving. "Alice, what extra things are you doing again?" I looked hurt. "I just wanted to make you some dishes. You used to love my cooking, right?" His face stiffened and then he looked away. "I'm tired of it." Tears welled up in my eyes and I didn't dare to look at him. But when I looked down, I realized I had wet myself. Not just my pants, the floor was wet as well. I stared blankly at Ethan. "Ethan, what's wrong with me?" His brow furrowed deeply, and he turned away sharply. But just as I thought he wouldn't come back, Ethan returned with a towel. He silently wiped the floor. After he cleaned it, he pulled me into the bathroom and helped me change my pants. I stood beside him watching him wash the clothes. Suddenly, I couldn't hold back my tears. "Ethan, am I going to die?" He tensed and turned around abruptly, his tone fierce. "You're just sick." I immediately shut my mouth. He had never spoken to me with such a harsh tone. I thought maybe I was dragging him down. Then why wouldn't he choose to break up with me? When I went to his company to find him, I learned the answer. Because I saw Ivy. I figured the reason he was keeping me around was probably just to make Ivy feel uncomfortable. By the time his birthday party came around, I was sure my theory was correct. Not even 2 days after the party, Ethan told me that Ivy was coming to see me. Don't get worked up and don't fight with her. I couldn't hold back any longer, questioning Ethan. What is she coming to see? To see how pathetic I look? I know that no matter what you do to me, tomorrow I'll forget everything and think you still love me. Ethan frowned at me. Alice, are you listening to what I'm saying? I curled my lip, my heart aching so much I couldn't speak clearly. Ethan, I'm the one who's sick. Why do I have to be mocked and not even get to be angry? You tell her that if she dares to come, I'm going to be very rude to her. Ethan grabbed me, holding me in a tight hug. He whispered in my ear, soothing me. Alice, you can do whatever you want when you are with me. But you have to promise me not to do anything to others. Okay? At the end of the day, he's still worried about that bitch. I bit Ethan's neck, my mouth filling with the taste of iron. He gently patted my back, his voice gentle. You need to change this habit. Otherwise, who's going to take care of you in the future? Ethan said my life was inseparable from him. But he was wrong. That night I didn't sleep at all. I replayed the things that had happened over and over in my head. At dawn, Ivy called Ethan. He thought I was asleep and didn't hide it from me. I faintly heard Ivy invite Ethan to her place for breakfast. Soon Ethan got up and went out. His steps were very light, as if afraid of waking me. After he left, I took out my old phone from the closet. I wanted to write down everything that happened yesterday, word by word. But I realized that I had already used this phone to record many things I had forgotten. Like when I was sick, Ethan accompanied Ivy to her checkup, and the doctor prescribed her folic acid. Or how, while I was cooking at home, Ethan was eating Western food. With Ivy, I found proof in his coat, not just restaurant receipts, but also 2 movie stubs for Love Letter, my favorite movie. I also found videos I had recorded myself. In the videos, I looked worn out. I'm pregnant, but I didn't tell Ethan. I don't want to tell him. I held my stomach, tears streaming down my face. Even though I was carrying his child, Ethan still let his white moonlight force me to drink. If I had told him, would things have turned out differently? I didn't want to remain so unclear with Ethan anymore. So I went straight to Ethan's company. But I didn't expect to see Ivy there too. I stood outside the door and overheard their conversation. Ivy's voice was pitiful. Ethan, I don't want this. Her illness hasn't gotten better yet. Ethan's voice was cold. So, it really was because of my illness that Ethan was delaying getting back together with Ivy? Even if she is sick, I don't want to endure it anymore. It's clear that I love you so much. Miss Lou. Ethan suddenly yelled angrily. I don't want to hear you say such things again. I was startled by Ethan's reaction and took a step back unconsciously. Beside me, Ethan's secretary looked at me politely. Miss Lou, Mr. Song is busy right now. Why don't you come back later? I ended up following the secretary to the lounge. But I couldn't stop thinking about the things I had just heard. Each word cut into me like a knife. I stood in front of the whiteboard, absent-mindedly drawing with a marker. The secretary came in with tea and was so frightened to see what I was doing that she almost dropped the cup. Miss Lou, are you okay? I then realized what I had done. I had written Ethan and Ivy's names on the whiteboard with notes next to them. A scumbag and a mistress. Ivy rushed out of the office. What happened to Alice Lou? When she saw what I had drawn, her expression changed immediately. Ivy ran over and frantically wiped the board clean. Alice Lou, why did you draw this? I laughed quietly. You're asking me? You dare to ask me? You, a mistress, dare to question me? My voice was full of sadness and despair. Ivy looked frightened and hastily handed the eraser to the secretary. Hurry and erase it. Ivy pinched my shoulders tightly. Alice Lou, don't act crazy, I'm not what you think. But she quickly changed her expression, shouting menacingly. So you're spreading rumors about me? Apologize to me. Now. Immediately. I found her ridiculous and struggled wildly. In the chaos, I realized my pants were wet again. Ivy's expression kept changing and she even began to cry in the end. Alice Lou, don't be like this. Ethan and I don't have anything going on. You can't treat me like this. Before I could react, I was pulled into a warm, strong embrace. Ethan's voice was fierce. Alice Lou, I told you, did you forget again? You said not to do anything to others, and I remember. I didn't hurt Ivy either. She was the one who kept holding on to me. How can you be so biased? He stared at me intently. Ivy and I have nothing going on. I lowered my head, not daring to look him in the eyes, when I suddenly noticed my pants were stained with blood. I had thought I just wet myself again. Ethan saw it too. He looked at me in shock. I gave a stiff smile. Ethan, she got rid of our child. Since you said you don't have anything to do with her, then should she just die? Blood mixed with an unknown liquid ran down my leg and onto the floor. This was probably the most pathetic moment of my life. I'm sorry, it wasn't intentional. I thought she was going to. Ivy was flustered. Ethan ignored her and took out a handkerchief, squatting down. He took my ankle in his hand. Don't move, let me wipe you clean. His clean, tailored suit was quickly soiled, and the hand holding my ankle was wet. Mr. Song. Ivy spoke. Get out. Ethan suddenly roared, scaring me. Get the hell out, all of you. Ivy sobbed and ran away. Everyone else slowly scattered. I stood there. Ethan, if you're ashamed of me, just say it. He lowered his head, the veins in his forehead throbbing. In the end, he just said, Alice Lou, let's go to the hospital. What about Ivy? You can do whatever you want to her. Ethan's voice was soft, as if he was too tired to say another word to me. I don't want to see her again. Okay, I'll make her leave. After coming back from the hospital, I entered a cold war with Ethan. The divorce agreements I printed over and over were thrown into the shredder by him without expression. He wouldn't even let me leave the house. According to him, I didn't have any family, and being unable to take care of myself, I wouldn't be able to survive without him. He was truly terrifyingly cold, hating me while pretending to be loving in front of me. Every day he came home on time and ate dinner with me. One day when he returned, I noticed that he was wearing a ring on his ring finger. It was the style I hated the most, but Ivy loved it. Can you take it off? It's disgusting. Ethan stopped and put down his bowl. Without a word, he took off the ring and put it in his pocket. But he wouldn't throw it away. I couldn't eat anymore, so I put down my bowl and left the table. Alice Lou, let's get married. Ethan suddenly called out from behind me. In the past, I would have been very happy, but I knew it wasn't his true intention. Now was a crucial period for Ethan's company to go public, and he was afraid of scandals. His wanting to marry me was not a change of heart or a sign of his conscience. I turned around and mocked him. Marrying you to help you stabilize your company, go public successfully, and then live happily ever after with Ivy? You're dreaming. I didn't expect Ethan's revenge on me to come so quickly. When I woke up from my afternoon nap, I heard a lot of noise downstairs. I opened the door and found strangers in my house. I don't know when Ivy came. She sat with her arms crossed on a chair in the dining room, wearing my slippers, directing people to move things. She acted like the lady of the house. That bed and the bedding and the clothes in the closet, throw them away. The baby's room, which had been closed since my miscarriage, was now open. The things I had carefully prepared were being thrown out. What are you doing? Ivy heard my voice and raised her head, a sudden smile on her face. You're awake. Ethan told me to get people to take apart this baby room and redecorate it. So you wouldn't be sad looking at it. Oh, and now that this room is empty, someone can live here. I can stay here from now on. My head buzzed and I felt my heart race. Blood rushed to my head. Ethan had promised me solemnly that he wouldn't let Ivy appear before me. And now she was going to live in our home. I ran barefoot down the stairs, saw the baby bed being torn apart. And scattered everywhere were small clothes and shoes that Ethan and I had chosen together. And the good luck charm that I had spent 3 months embroidering for the baby was nowhere to be found. Where's the charm? Ivy shrugged. I didn't like the look of it, so I just threw it away. Where did you throw it? Outside in the garden maybe, or in the pool. I can't remember with those unimportant things. If you don't find the charm, you and Ethan should just go die. I shoved her out of the way and without taking time to put on shoes, ran out to the garden. Ivy stood at the window mocking me. Alice Lou, look at yourself now. Do you still deserve Ethan? His company is about to go public. A high-profile CEO like him who goes to all kinds of high-end places needs a proper gentle wife. But you're a mess. What else can you do besides wetting yourself in public? I'm begging you, please don't use the hardships you went through with him to blackmail Ethan anymore. How much money do you want? I and Ethan will give it to you. Just let him go, okay? Look at how you are now. What right do you have to demand that he continue to love you? As dusk approached, I knelt in the overgrown bushes, blindly searching for the charm, ignoring Ivy's provocations. My white pajamas were filthy. My legs and feet were also scratched. Unable to find it in the bushes, I turned to look in the pool. When I stood up, I suddenly ran into an embrace. Ethan held me tight, his voice cold and clear. Why did you get yourself so dirty? I turned around and grabbed his clothes, questioning him in a sharp voice. Ethan, I just had a miscarriage. Are you in such a hurry to tear down the baby's room? A few rumbles of thunder sounded from the sky. It was going to rain. The air felt heavy and suffocating. Ethan reached out and touched my face but looked away, unable to meet my eyes. The child is gone. Keeping the room will only make you sad. Ivy suddenly ran over, crying. Mr. Song, she seems to hate me. The way she looks at me is scary. Ethan didn't respond, but his eyes were fixed on her. I didn't want to watch them express their feelings through their gazes, so I pushed Ethan away and turned towards the pool. Alice, it's dangerous over there. Ethan grabbed my wrist, trying to pull me back. An inexplicable fire ignited in me. I bit down on his wrist, hearing Ethan give a muffled grunt. He didn't move and didn't let go. The taste of blood seeped out slowly. Finally, the rain broke through the clouds, falling in a drizzle. The water's surface rippled. Ivy ran over, pretending to be worried, holding an umbrella for me. Listen to Mr. Song, okay? If you catch a cold, you'll pee your pants. With that, she looked at me provocatively. She was so pleased with herself that she had won Ethan's trust. The rain was getting heavier, and the water in the pool was overflowing. Without the lights, the dark pool looked like the open jaws of a wild beast. Suddenly, I grabbed Ivy's hair and pushed her into the pool. Alice Lou! Ethan shouted angrily and crouched down, trying to pull me off with all his strength. But I wouldn't budge. I was leaning all my weight on Ivy. She was submerged in the pool, her dark hair floating, struggling fiercely. It wasn't long before she could no longer struggle. I was exhausted. I let go. Ivy lay by the side of the pool like a dying dog. Ethan's face was pale. He pulled Ivy up and held her in his arms, patting her back hard. His voice was anxious. Spit it out, it'll be okay if you spit it out. His hands were shaking. He was babbling. Ivy's eyes were closed and she began to cry. Don't let me see her. I don't want to. Ethan's eyes were full of anger. Alice Lou, go back. Then, as if to soothe Ivy, he patted her gently. I'll take you to the hospital. Can you still talk? I lunged towards Ivy again. Alice Lou. Ethan blocked my arm, protecting Ivy. The next second, plop. I lost my balance and was pushed into the deep pool by Ethan. The water rushed at me from all sides. It flooded my face, submerging my features. Before sinking to the bottom, I saw Ethan's cold eyes. Because I had hurt Ivy, he had turned against me. A nurse told me that this was my 8th time in the hospital this year. Because I had fallen into the water, my body was very weak. I was often huddled under the covers, shaking with a fever. It hurt a lot every time I got an injection to reduce the fever. But I had no one to complain to. I didn't know what Ethan told the doctors and nurses. Everyone seemed to assume that I was his wife. Disgusting. When the caretaker was talking to me, Ethan called. She put it on speaker and held the phone to my ear. Alice. Ethan's voice was hoarse. Eat properly, or I'll personally watch you eat. I looked up and saw him looking at me through the glass window. Was he threatening me? I picked up the box of food and threw it all in the trash, saying, Ethan, why don't you just die? His face was pale and unhealthy, but when he heard me speak, he didn't react much. Is that so? He said with a soft chuckle. Then I'll just have to watch you eat every day. After my condition stabilized, I was moved out of the intensive care unit to a normal patient room. From then on, I was completely under Ethan's control. He would come see me every day saying, "Alice, you have to get better." Looking at the news about his company going public, I could predict my fate. I would help him stabilize the company before being sent to a mental hospital. "Have an apple." Ethan put a bowl of cut apples in front of me. When he reached for it, I lowered my head and bit his wrist. The same place as before. The wound had not healed, and I had reopened it. Only when I tasted blood did I release him satisfied. Ethan didn't even blink. "Next time, bite the other side. If you keep biting the same place, you'll get scars." Yesterday, I had tried to poke his wound with a toothpick and throw salt on it. So today, the toothpicks and seasoning packets were gone. "Ethan, you really should have the word jerk carved into your face." Ethan suddenly held the back of my neck and kissed me. The kiss was rough and violent, and he even broke my lip. Seeing me look at him like I was looking at an enemy, he smiled. "I'm not expecting you to love me. I just need you to remember me." His touch disgusted me. I slapped him. His head turned to the side. "Are you feeling better?" he asked softly. I curled my lips. "Not yet, unless you drown in the swimming pool." Then I turned down the temperature in the room and pulled the blanket over myself, leaving just my eyes looking at him. The sick Ethan turned even paler from the cold air and coughed harder. "Just wait a little longer. I'll leave after the nurse is done with the 4. By the time it was over, it was already an hour later. Ethan was shivering and had turned blue with cold. His cough had worsened. After that, he disappeared for several days. During that time, I received a call from Ivy. She was trembling with rage. "Can you stop torturing Ethan? He's sick, and his fever won't go away." That was when I found out that he had jumped into the pool to find the charm on that rainy night. Is that my fault? If you were of use, his company's IPO wouldn't rely on me. Unfortunately, a mistress like you is just not good enough to show in public. Ivy hung up the phone angrily. I had hoped for Ethan to die, but things didn't go as planned. Ethan was still alive. Half a month later, he discharged me from the hospital. In December, before Ethan's company went public, he took me away. The plane arrived in Hong Kong in the evening. On the busy streets, he held my hand, showing me off to everyone. I didn't know why he bought me so many things. Hats, clothes, bags. The prettiest ones he had me wear. The extras he carried. "Don't look so sour, smile." Ethan looked happy, pinching my cheek and putting a soft hat on my head. "You look so pretty." Back when he first started his company, I had gone with Ethan to Hong Kong once. We didn't have much money then and couldn't afford a hotel that cost $1,000 a night nor a meal that cost hundreds. Ethan had pulled me to the harbor. We looked at the cruise ship that was booked by the rich, and he had remained silent for a long time. Now he told me, "Alice, I've booked the entire cruise ship. Do you want to see the night view?" I stood with my hands in my pockets at the harbor, a cute pink fox hat on my head, and said coldly, "Whatever." Ethan smiled. "Okay. Just think of it as keeping me company." Tomorrow his company was going public. Tonight he must be in a very good mood. The Victoria Harbor at night was magnificent. I stood on the deck of the cruise ship, feeling the wind, while music played from a band behind me. Ethan handed me a cup of warm milk. "Let's go sit inside for a while. It's cold out here." I stood still. "Alice, don't stand too far out. It's not safe." Ethan pulled me closer and tucked the stray hairs into my hat. I stared into the deep sea and suddenly asked, "What would happen if I jumped in here?" "Your company's listing ceremony would be forced to halt, wouldn't it?" Ethan paused. Then he bent over and hugged me. "Alice." His scent surrounded me completely. "If that's the case, I'd die with you." I laughed. "What are you talking about? Tomorrow is your big day, I won't jump." Ethan chuckled too. "Then let's go inside. There is a piano performance that you like." I let him take my hand, and with many people watching, I walked into the spotlight. A flowing piano melody filled the air. Ethan was as handsome as he had always been. He lowered his head and kissed me on the forehead. "Alice, happy 10th anniversary. So we had been together for 10 years. Is there a surprise?" Ethan took my hand in his. "Yes, but it's for tomorrow night." I said, "Ethan, I have a surprise for you too." Ethan's dark eyes focused on me. Really? Yes. Sometimes I felt that Ethan was ridiculous. Years had passed and things were no longer the same. Why insist on being a couple when you only have superficial harmony? Ethan's phone rang. It had to be her. I laughed. Go ahead and answer it. Don't let it interfere with your business. Ethan kissed me on my forehead, picked up his phone and walked away. The moment he turned around, the smile on my face disappeared. I turned and walked to the outside of the cabin. A cold wind swept over the luxurious Victoria Harbor. I came to the railing, took off the high heels he had given me and placed them neatly beside it. Coldness seeped up from the soles of my feet. In the distance I could hear Ethan's voice on the phone. Don't worry, I'll marry you when I get back. See, he was always planning for a future with Ivy. I touched the hat and threw it into the darkness. I watched it snag on the side of the ship, rolling with the waves. I turned and walked to the side of the cabin under a window, wrapping myself tightly in a down jacket. On my phone screen was an alert message I sent out. Ethan had kidnapped me. Tonight he would be ruined. A few minutes later, Ethan suddenly rushed onto the deck. Has anyone seen my wife? He grabbed a passing crew member. His voice suddenly panicked. A large group of people followed him, speaking in broken Mandarin. She just walked out. I didn't move. I huddled in the corner watching them search frantically. Ethan saw my shoes on the deck, his face instantly pale. Someone pointed to the sea. I saw her hat down there. Ethan suddenly started to take off his clothes as if he was going crazy. People tried to stop him. Mr. Song, let the professionals handle it. Ethan roared. She is my wife. Who else would genuinely save her other than me? Let go of me. I'm going to find her. The others held onto his waist, dragging him back. Calm down. You have to be calm. It's too dark. You won't be able to find her if you jump. Ethan's eyes were red, nearly begging. I can find her. I beg you, let go of me. I watched Ethan acting in front of everyone and laughed in mockery. How had I never realized that Ethan was such a great actor? Mr. Song, please calm down. We'll call the police. Ethan slumped on the floor, not saying a word. The others, seeing that he had stopped struggling, loosened their grip and took out their phones to call the police. The next second, Ethan jumped over the railing. The sound of him falling into the water did not pierce the thick night. I stood up blankly, the smile disappearing from my face. The wind blew through the empty deck. Ethan was gone. I was finally found by someone at the entrance of the storage room on one side of the cruise ship. The rescue team searched all night, finding Ethan in the sea. He was rushed to the nearby hospital. Miss Liu, your husband is still in the operating room. Regarding your accusations against him, we can't verify them until he is out of danger. But you don't have to worry. We will protect you at all times. At the police station, I watched the news report on the accident, and after a long while I said, he knew that jumping in there would kill him, so why did he jump? The female officer looked puzzled. Perhaps because you are his wife? I remained silent. Don't contact me about his treatment. He has a lover named Ivy Liu. You can contact her. A day later, the female officer came to find me. Miss Liu, we couldn't find any contact information for Ms. Liu on Mr. Song's phone. Can you provide that to us? I shook my head. I don't have it. Ethan had protected her well. We didn't even have any contact information. But according to our information, Mr. Song doesn't have any other family members besides you. I said impatiently, that's impossible. Go ask his company, find his secretary. She will tell you Ivy Liu's contact information. Miss Liu, you have Alzheimer's. Your doctor told us that you've stubbornly believed that Mr. Song is having an affair with a woman named Ivy Liu for a long time now, and you've attacked others more than once. Unfortunately, she is fictional and doesn't exist. I listened to her blankly and suddenly laughed. Ethan is protecting her to this extent? The female officer frowned, her face serious. I'm not joking with you. Mr. Song has no family members. You have to decide whether or not to continue with his life-saving treatment. Enough. I stood up, emotional. If you brought me here today for this, then let me tell you, I hope Ethan dies. The female officer sighed and handed me a phone. Mr. Song's belongings, you can keep them for now. If you need anything in the future, you can contact me. When I left the police station, it was raining. The air was cold and damp. I wrapped my scarf around myself and sat down on a bench on the street. I took out Ethan's phone. I lit up the screen and the fingerprint unlock was displayed. I put my thumb on it. It unlocked. I didn't even remember leaving my fingerprint on his phone. Ethan's phone didn't have too many unnecessary things. There were hundreds of contacts on his phone list. I typed Ivy's name and nothing appeared. I tried many other ways to search but came up empty. I closed my eyes and I couldn't remember Ivy's face. Then I stumbled across a private photo album. A dialog box popped up, asking me to enter a password. I instinctively entered my birthday. The moment the password unlocked, my heart went blank. What appeared was a series of videos. My blood began to rush, hitting my eardrums again and again. I opened the first one. It was from the autumn of 2016. The video started playing automatically. A happy voice came from the speaker. Ethan, happy 3rd anniversary. Congratulations to me on graduating and congratulations to Ethan for successfully starting his company. I instantly recognized my voice. It was me who was filming this, but I didn't remember any of it. In the candlelight, a much younger Ethan looked up and stared at the camera. A giggle rang out in the video. Why are you looking at me? Do you like the south of the city or the north? What? I want to buy a house. I'm going to pick a place you like for us to settle down. In the video, I shrieked, jumped, and landed on top of Ethan, hugging him and kissing his neck. In the dim, unseen corner, Ethan's ears turned red. The second video was from the spring of 2017. Ethan was drunk. I was excited and shoved the camera in his face. Let's interview Mr. Song today. Who did you drink with until so late? Ethan closed his eyes, took my hand and placed it on his chest. He muttered something. Huh? What did you say? I didn't hear clearly and got closer with the camera. 200,000. I made 200,000. Call Alice Liu, tell her to keep an eye on him, get the payment. I playfully poked his lips and eyelashes with my hair. Why should Alice Liu do that? What's in it for her? Ethan mumbled. Pay her account. Then the camera tumbled and fell to the ground, facing a trash can. Ethan's head was stuck in the trash can. Vomiting sounds came out clearly. I rushed around frantically shouting, Hang on. I'm taking you to the hospital. Over 100 videos documented our past. From the beginning when Ethan started his company to the day it grew bigger and bigger. Our filming locations changed from a cheap, rented apartment to a nice apartment, then to a large villa. Throughout all of the videos, the name Ivy Liu was never mentioned. As it gradually grew dark, the street lamps lit up. Feeling a little cold, I wrapped my scarf tighter and clicked on the next video. It was New Year's Eve. This time I was sitting in front of the camera with Ethan. I was smiling brightly, but Ethan looked serious. From our clothes, it was obvious we were much wealthier. I nudged Ethan and said with a laugh, What's wrong? Smile. Ethan looked down and gazed at me intently, stroking my head. I looked back at the camera smiling, but my eyes started to get a little red. I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's today. I always thought it was just bad memory, but I never thought this kind of disease would happen to me, a young person. The doctor said if it's managed well, the disease will progress slowly. I wanted to break up, but Ethan wouldn't let me. Ethan hugged me, saying stubbornly, We won't separate. You should know that I'll forget everything, including you. I'll also start shouting and doing many unreasonable things. Ethan, you're successful in your career. In your future, you shouldn't have a wife like me. Ethan's voice choked up. If one day you forget everything, it won't be you who is in pain. Alice Liu, I'll never abandon you no matter what. Let's get married today. I smiled sweetly. I hid the household registration book. If I can cure this disease one day, I'll tell you where it is, and we'll go get our marriage certificate. I can't wait. Ethan's eyes teared up, pleading. How about today? I kissed him on the lips. Be good and listen to me. Once my disease is no longer severe, I'll marry you. The video suddenly switched to Ethan filming. I became the star in front of the camera. Wearing an apron, I proudly displayed my cooking skills in front of the bread oven. What flavor of cake do you like? I asked. Ethan secretly turned off the gas stove that I forgot to switch off. Lemon. I hummed a tune. Then we'll make a lemon one. Oh, what are the lyrics to the next part of that song? Ethan hummed along and sang with me. In the dim room, I curled up on the sofa, crying silently. The movie Love Letter was playing on the TV. Ethan laughed. Why are you crying? I held a tissue. It's too touching. If the movie theaters re-release it, we have to go see it together. Okay. You must remember. Okay. The next clip showed the kitchen countertop in a complete mess. Wearing an apron, I looked blankly at it. What flavor of cake do you like? I asked. Ethan secretly threw away the paint, saying, I'm sorry, I forgot to buy the ingredients today. How about we go out to eat? But it's your birthday. He kissed me. Eating cake will make you fat. You wouldn't like a fat Ethan. I thought about it and, after putting on my coat, muttered as I was leaving, actually, a chubby Ethan is quite cute. Later, the video started to become shorter. Sometimes I would suddenly wet myself in front of the camera. Ethan would put the camera down and rush over to clean me up. Ethan, I'm sorry. Don't say sorry. It's not your fault and you're not bothering me. Slowly, I started to become moody and erratic. One second, I would be talking to Ethan calmly. The next, I would suddenly throw things at him. In one video, I was yelling at a woman who came in. She covered her head, shouting in panic, Alice, it's me, Lily, your best friend. Please don't treat me like this. I threw a small cake on her face, yelling, Ethan, take your mistress and leave. A few minutes later, there was a recording of my suppressed cries. Ethan, please, let's break up. I don't want to be a crazy person taking out my anger on you. It's okay. I don't mind, Alice. I really don't mind. Next time, can you tell me that I have dementia, that I'm sick? If I knew, I would control myself. Okay. Later, the videos turned into monologues from Ethan. Alice Liu has been hospitalized for the 3rd time this year. She started to hate me. She sees all the women around me as Ivy Liu, and attacks and hates them. Lately, she's been acting out a lot, because she thinks she's pregnant. The doctor suggested that I send her to a sanitarium, but I can't bear to. I've told her many times that I love her, but she doesn't remember. Ethan's eyes were red. He lowered his head, trying to compose himself. I'll just take a break for now. Spend some time with her and take it slow. She will get better. The next clip showed a lot of people. It took me a while to realize that this was Ethan's birthday party from not too long ago. The woman across from him grabbed the table, staring straight at Ethan. Ethan, tell me, who do you love the most? Everyone started cheering. Ethan, think before you answer. Lily is her family. You'll be in trouble if you offend Alice's best friend. Ethan took my hand, saying, who else but Alice Liu? Lily's eyes were a little wet. All right. Ethan, when are you planning on getting married? Ethan looked at me a little sad. Not yet. Once she recovers a little bit, we might go abroad to have the wedding. When it was my turn, Lily asked me softly, Alice, it's time, should we drink our medicine? The me in the video looked down blankly, as if not hearing anything. Lily forced a smile and changed her approach. Alice, don't you like to drink? How about we have a drink? I finally reacted, looking up at her. Lily seemed encouraged and let out a sigh of relief, picking up the medicine and walking toward me. Drinking is fun, Alice. Let's try it. I panicked, trying to leave. I won't drink it. Everyone stared at me blankly. Lily grabbed me and cupped my face, coaxing me softly. Open your mouth just once, okay? I struggled wildly, almost knocking over the bowl of medicine several times. Ethan pursed his lips, veins bulging on the back of his hand. Ethan, are you sure about this? Everyone asked worriedly. Ethan forced a smile. It doesn't matter. Anyway, she won't remember anything when she wakes up. Alice, listened to her. Once you drink the medicine, we'll get married. Lily, with a little skill, coaxed and tricked me into drinking it. Several scratch marks from me were on the back of her hand. Let's stop here for today and think of another way tomorrow. The rain beat against the canopy, and I looked up blankly at the sky, unable to piece together Lily's face. I found Lily's name on my phone. The chat history was still from a long time ago. Lily, it's Ethan's birthday soon. And I'm going to give him a surprise. What are you planning to do? I'll invite his friends over to celebrate. You're the life of the party. You can prepare some interesting questions. Ha ha, I know what you mean. You want to ask Ethan in front of everyone if he loves you? I got you, sis. At the end of the year, I was alone on the streets of Hong Kong, crying uncontrollably. Through the glass window, I saw Ethan covered in tubes. Has payment been made? The doctor asked me. I looked helpless. I'm sorry, I don't remember my bank card password. Please try again. Your husband's life is hanging by a thread, and he needs you the most. If we keep having overdue payments, we won't be able to prescribe him a lot of medicines. Okay. I didn't have much cash and no place to stay. I wandered around the payment window all day, trying the wrong password again and again. The staff at the window said, "Miss, could you please not disrupt the medical order?" In the evening, I used the remaining change to buy 2 pieces of bread. I stood in front of the intensive care unit repeating, "Give this to Ethan." The doctors and nurses walked by quickly. One of the nurses pulled me to the side urgently. "Did you forget again? You need to go pay. Not buy bread." Seeing my blank face, she sighed and left. I didn't know who bumped into me, and the bread in my hands fell on the floor. I suddenly started to cry, feeling like a useless person. The door in front of me opened. A nurse squatted down in front of me, handing me a toy. "Your husband is awake. He wanted me to give you this. He also told you not to be afraid or cry, and someone will come pick you up to take you to the hotel later." I held onto the toy, only remembering one thing. Ethan is awake. I waited outside the intensive care unit for many days. I refused to leave no matter who called me away. When I was tired, I would curl up on a small mat in the hallway and sleep. When I was awake, I would eat whatever food the doctors gave me to fill my stomach. I don't know how many days later, Ethan was wheeled out. I held the toy and stood beside his bed. Ethan had lost a lot of weight. Seeing me, he sighed. "It's exactly what I feared. They bullied you when I wasn't there, didn't they?" I cried. "They wouldn't let me buy you bread." "Don't cry." Ethan took my hand. "My heart aches seeing you cry." I went to a normal ward with Ethan. I held his hand tightly, refusing to let go. When strangers entered, I would shrink into a corner in fear, shivering. So Ethan stopped letting people in. Sometimes he would support himself and walk to the door. Through Ethan's loose hospital gown, I saw many scars from pinching, biting, and hitting. Some were still purple and some had just healed. I followed behind him, gently placing my hand on his neck. I felt him tense up. "Did I hit you before?" Ethan slowly relaxed and adjusted his clothes. "No, you did not. You were so good. You never caused me trouble," I said dejectedly. "I tricked you into jumping off the cruise, and now your company failed to go public. That's not how it is, you're mistaken. Go get some sleep and you'll get better." I nestled beside him and fell into a deep sleep. I had some messy dreams. In one dream, I remembered what Lily looked like. She was in the office crying and arguing with Ethan. "Ethan, I don't want this. I should have never let her stay with you. I want to take her abroad to find the best doctors. Do you think I haven't tried? Why isn't she better then? Even if she's sick, I don't want to bear it anymore. It's clear that I love her so much, but I have to hold myself back and can't even say a word to her. Ethan, do you think you're the only one who loves her? I love her too." "Shut up." Ethan's face turned cold. "Miss Liu, I don't want to hear you say that again." Later, I was frantically drawing on the bulletin board. When Lily rushed at me, her face was green. "Alice, this is Ethan's company. Why don't we go home?" I not only ignored her, but I reached out to push her. "You mistress, go die." Lily grabbed my hand, angry. "Don't act crazy, I'm not a mistress." Alice Liu apologized to me now. I spat at her. "You wish. If you dare to appear in front of me again, I'll kill you." Lily's face turned pale instantly. She was so angry that she was crying. "Alice Liu, don't be like this. You can't treat me like this." When Ethan came down, I was pulling Lily's hair. She was still trying to protect me from falling. But I still fell. I scraped my skin, bled, and wet myself. That day, I said a lot of crazy things that made no sense and hurt my family and friends. Ethan and Lily had a huge argument. He wrapped me in clothes and took me to the hospital. I woke up from the dream. The room was quiet. Only Ethan was turned away from me on the phone. My wife is sick. If you hadn't spoken so carelessly that day, she wouldn't have pushed you into the water. I was just joking. The woman's voice sounded familiar. Ethan's voice was cold. You called her a burden in front of my wife and you call that a joke? If it weren't for the security cameras at the villa, I wouldn't have known what you did to her. You did something unforgivable to my wife. The woman started screaming. I'm her sister, why can't I say a few words about her? Do you even look like a sister? Does your family think that because Alice Liu is sick I will like you? Don't dream. I regret letting you appease her. What you did to my wife is unforgivable. Aren't you afraid I'll sue her and lock her in a mental hospital? Ethan scoffed. Aren't you living perfectly fine? I gave you the best treatment so you could jump around and talk about Alice Liu instead of drowning. You should be grateful. I will never let Alice Liu be accused of a crime. And if she is, it would definitely be something I did. I was barefoot on the floor. Ethan, I called. Ethan stopped talking and quietly hung up the phone. When he turned back, his expression was warm. What's wrong? I finally understood why Ethan had emphasized again and again for me not to hurt anyone. Was she the one who was talking to me at the villa? Ethan reached out to me and hugged me. Yes. I almost drowned her. It doesn't matter, she won't die. But just because she pushed you into the water, I will not let her off the hook. He sighed gently. The doctor said that taking down the baby's room would prevent any further stimulation to you. That's why I asked your sister to help comfort you. I didn't expect her to have her own plan. After my illness, my family and friends gave up on me. Only Ethan hadn't given up. I leaned on Ethan's shoulder saying softly, I miss home. Can we go home? After returning from Hong Kong, I liked to sit alone in a corner, staring out the window. Because Ethan had been so sick, his company was a mess. He was very busy. He hired a caretaker to look after me when he wasn't around. I found movie tickets for Love Letter in Ethan's pocket. He was planning to watch it with me. Unfortunately, I was in a bad mood that day and I lost my temper at Ethan and we never went. There was also the hospital's checkup results, which showed everything was normal. I wasn't pregnant, but because of my delusions, I had put Ethan through the ringer, setting up a baby's room and going to the hospital to get folic acid. They all said that Ethan had no family left. I was his only family member. But I had caused him so much trouble. Alice, what are you looking at? It was December and it was snowing outside. A few days ago, the pine tree by the window was snapped in half. Ethan came home from work, with the smell of snow still clinging to him. It was a little cold. I picked up the half-finished sweater I was knitting. I was wondering if you'll be able to wear it before winter is over. No rush. Ethan sat beside me by the window. You'll be able to wear it next year. I leaned over and gently kissed him. Accidentally, I touched the ring on his ring finger. Ethan flinched, about to take it off, but I stopped him. I remember it. I opened his hand, looking at the ugly ring. I designed this. Yes. Ethan looked down and took out another one with a diamond embedded in it. They're a pair. But I called it disgusting last time. It's okay. If you don't like it, I'll hide it away. I'll wear it again next time when you like it. I held out my ring finger. Put it on for me. I like it very much. The rest of my days seemed to be back to normal. Ethan would sit with me and look at old photos. He would take me to places that reminded us of our past. He tirelessly pieced together our story from the fragments of my broken memory. During that time, I received a call from my sister, begging me through tears. Alice Liu, let Ethan forgive me. I really know I was wrong. I didn't know what Ethan had done to her to make her so terrified. This sense of fear affected me, causing me to hurt Ethan by accident. When I regained my senses, I blacklisted her. In the spring, Ethan took me to see the cherry blossoms. The weather was warm, and the days when I would lose my temper grew less and less. Every time, Ethan would praise me with a smile. Alice, you're so amazing. You've really gotten so much better. But I knew that my improved temper was because I couldn't remember much anymore. I couldn't even remember why I was angry. On our anniversary morning, I got up and followed behind Ethan. In just 10 minutes, I asked 5 times, "Who are you?" Ethan's smile was wavering, looking very strained. Alice, I'm your husband, Ethan. I started to frequently forget where I was going. I would often wake up in the police station. Ethan would rush over from an important meeting, hugging me tightly. It's good that you're okay, so good. Caregivers came and left, because I would only listen to Ethan. They were afraid of me and couldn't watch over me. The doctor suggested that Ethan send me to a sanatorium, a place with security cameras, and many professionals who could take care of me. Ethan refused. I would rather have her by my side than have her be in a place without me in fear. Later, he started taking me to work. During meetings, I would sit beside him playing with building blocks. One day when I went to the restroom, I heard them gossiping about Ethan. The CEO of such a big publicly traded company is bringing his girlfriend to work, as if he's raising a mentally handicapped child. It's hilarious. Maybe he's putting on an act. Only if the stock price is stable can we keep our jobs. Then I'm going to pray for the boss and the boss's wife to be together forever. Ha ha ha, I saw her wet herself, and Mr. Song actually squatted down to clean her up. It was so disgusting. I stayed in the restroom until they were gone. I looked in the mirror, my shirt sticking out of my skirt, and my skirt zipper was crooked. I wanted to fix it, but I just couldn't. I knew I had to leave. A few days ago, Alice Lu caught a cold and was sick. She didn't want to go to work with Ethan no matter what. He called a caregiver to watch her temporarily and planned to go to work to finish up some business before coming back to be with her. When he left that morning, Alice Lu ran over and kissed him, also taking the ring from his ring finger. She said she wanted to get it cleaned. Ethan promised Alice Lu that when he came back, he would bring her the small cake from a bakery in the suburbs. There was some trouble at work during the day, and Ethan was delayed. When he finally arrived home, the sunset was reflecting off the marble floors, creating a dazzling glow. In the kitchen, the caregiver was humming a tune, brushing egg yolk onto some pastries. Ethan asked, "Where's Alice?" "She's sleeping upstairs." Ethan walked upstairs, discovering that the cross-stitch sachet was gone. The hair tie on the display shelf was missing. He frowned and quickly pushed open the bedroom door. The sunset streamed through the window, ostentatious. In the empty room, the bedding was neatly arranged on the bed, and on top of the bed there was a letter. Ethan trembled as he unfolded it. Alice Lu's handwriting was crooked, and the ink was different colors. She must have written it on and off for a long time. A breakup letter to Ethan. "Ethan, I still think that the decision I made in 2018 was the right one. I asked the doctor, and it seems there won't be many clear days ahead of me. Although I want to continue to be with you, I'm scared of our future. Just like you love me, and can't stand seeing me hurt or in pain, I love you the same way. So I hope your future is bright and full of splendor. The road we've walked together should end here. I've found a sanatorium where I can peacefully live out the rest of my life. I promised you that I would celebrate every birthday with you, but it seems I can't. I probably won't even remember, so happy birthday to you many times in advance. In the future, you'll find someone who loves you again and spend the rest of your life with them. I'm sorry, unilaterally breaking up is cruel, but I don't have much time left with a clear mind. One moment of weakness might bring you pain. I'm not willing to risk that. Ethan, it was nice to have met you. Goodbye." The sunset faded past the window, sinking below the horizon. The light dimmed. The toy in the room was gone, and all traces of Alice Lu's life disappeared completely. Ethan covered his face and cried out in despair. As spring drew to a close, Alice Lu left him completely. She left. This coastal city did not have distinct seasons. The wind from the ocean always carried a bit of coolness but was not bone-chilling. "It's the Mid-Autumn Festival today. Do you really have no family?" Alice Lu was sitting by the window, folding paper. The caregiver behind her was tidying the bed, complaining, "I was supposed to be on vacation, but I wouldn't have to stay here if it weren't for you." She couldn't quite understand the local dialect the caregiver sometimes used. Even the paper folding competition, she only figured out a few days ago after guessing what it was. "Hey, stop folding. No one's participating in that competition." The caregiver snatched the paper frog from Alice Lu and threw it into the trash. In the first few months after arriving, the sanatorium was still polite to this young woman, who had no family but was still aware. But no one could stand her erratic temper, She didn't like talking to people and was stubborn. Every day she would stay in her room, folding paper frogs and throwing them everywhere. The caregiver quickly cleaned the room and left. It was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and many of the patients' families had arrived. She had to go help at the cafeteria. Alice Lu stayed in her small room until 1 o'clock when she felt hungry. Instinct drove her to leave her room and look for the kitchen. But on the way she got lost. Ethan was driving and, after a long journey, arrived at the sanatorium. He saw his Alice Lu stumbling and chasing a scarf that was being blown by the wind. The staff that walked by all looked indifferent. She couldn't catch up and fell. Paper frogs spilled from her bag. Ethan ordered the car to stop, running quickly towards Alice Lu. The security guard suddenly appeared asking, "Excuse me, sir, who are you?" Ethan's driver gave the security guard a business card. "This gentleman is this girl's family member. Please inform the director as soon as possible." Ethan walked over to Alice Lu and helped her up. Alice Lu's disheveled look tore at his heart. She looked at Ethan blankly. "You are?" "I'm Ethan." Such a handsome man putting on a brave smile was hard to look at. Alice Lu felt sorry for him and shoved her backpack into his arms. Ethan opened it, finding it full of paper frogs. "Are these for me?" Alice Lu nodded. Ethan put the backpack on and took out a handkerchief to carefully wipe her face clean. Alice Lu suddenly started to cry. Hungry. He knew it. Someone always bullied Alice Lu when he wasn't there. He was sad and tears started falling. "Why are you crying?" Alice Lu wiped Ethan's tears, a little flustered. "I'm not hungry anymore." "Don't cry." Ethan held her tightly. The emotions he had been holding in for so long finally burst out. He had scared Alice Lu. He was crying and laughing while holding her tightly, refusing to let go. Alice Lu thought this person was a little crazy. Behind a closed door, Ethan was yelling at the director. Alice Lu paid a lot of money but hadn't received the proper care, just because she didn't have any family. When Ethan opened the door with a dark face, Alice Lu was hugging the toy, trying to escape. Ethan grabbed her, sighing, "Don't run around." To Alice Lu, she had suddenly gained a very bad-tempered male babysitter. Not only was he good-looking, but he would also get mad at other people. However, he was quite good to her. She began to like him. "Where do we fold the small frog first?" Ethan asked seriously. Alice Lu taught him patiently. "First, there needs to be a square and then do it like this." Ethan learned quickly and folded them well. He had folded a month's worth in 3 days. Alice Lu had nothing to do. She said dejectedly, "I have nothing left to teach you. You can go." Ethan persisted. "As a reward, I can take you out to play." Alice Lu had a thin skin. She didn't know how to reject people, especially people she liked. On a warm, sunny afternoon, Ethan brought Alice Lu home. She no longer remembered their past. Looking at the photos on the wall, she said, "Your girlfriend is so pretty." Ethan lowered his head and kissed her on the lips. "That's you." Alice Lu blushed, covering her mouth. "Why are you so casual?" Ethan took her hand and showed her every corner of the house. It was covered with sticky notes, written with their story. Alice Lu read them by the railing. As she read, a feeling of sadness welled up. It was as if she had really lost something. Ethan never forced her to remember anything. He still brought her to work every day. After those employees who had gossiped were fired, no one dared to say anything bad about her. On the way home from work, Ethan would still buy Alice Lu small cakes, letting her sit in the passenger seat, humming tunes and saying whatever came to her mind. Many people secretly said that Ethan's future looked dim, but they didn't know that as long as Alice Lu was there, every day for him was bright. Alice Lu's memory was suddenly unlocked one evening. It was Friday, and the evening traffic had the wide roads completely blocked. The red brake lights flashed one after another in the afterglow of the sunset. Alice Lu heard a familiar song. It was the theme song from the movie Love Letter. The scene where Ethan was playing the guitar and confessing to Alice Lu in the evening breeze suddenly flooded her mind. She looked up at the man in front of her, no longer young. The memories came rushing back. It turned out she had loved him for so many years. "Ethan," Alice Lu called softly. Ethan assumed she was interested in something by the side of the road. His gaze went over to her, catching her bright, teary eyes. He froze completely. The woman he had been waiting for so many years had, in this moment, suddenly remembered him. Alice Lu smiled, tears streaming down her face. Thank you that on the day that I woke up, I found myself still sitting by your side. Ethan pulled the car to the side of the road, hugging Alice Lu tightly. The years of grievance were all turned into tears, soaking her collar. You said that if you remembered everything, you would tell me where you hid the household registration book. Ethan's voice was hoarse. Let's get married, okay? The warmth of the dusk hadn't yet dissipated. They kissed. After experiencing many seasons, Ethan had finally kept Alice Lu by his side. The inn.